All right, welcome to another edition of the People Progressing podcast. And Kristen Doukakis Martinez joins the People Progressing family today, and I'm really excited about it. She's a graduate of Thunder Ridge High School, went to University of Tennessee, played soccer there, and we'll let her explain that. But I'm really excited. She's started her own business here now and so forth. So we're going to kind of get into that today. So Kristen, thanks for coming on. And why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us where you grew up and some of the things you like to do as a kid and so forth.
All right. Okay. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This is super fun and exciting to connect back with high
It
school
really
days.
is. Right.
But I was born and raised here in Colorado. I grew up in Highlands Ranch, and I I loved my childhood. I remember literally just walking outside and being outside and riding my bike all day, every day. Like that's all we did. And it kills me now knowing that like my little kiddos, they don't get that opportunity. It's like they go to the park and I'm like, am I gonna get called CPS on? Like or see whatever it's called. Um so I just remember like going down to the little creek that was by my house, and we would fish for crawdads and throw rocks and walk in the water all day, like all day. I don't think my parents had any clue where I ever was. And if I wasn't doing that, I was playing some sort of sport. So my mom was like super huge into introducing us to every single thing. And so we did ice skating, we did even instruments. Like she made me play the piano and she made me play the clarinet. And I actually played in high school, which was really fun. So I didn't practice ever. So I think I was like always like last chair, but whatever. And so then my passion was always soccer, obviously. I did swim team. I grew up swimming in the swim team. Funny story, did I was I was a breaststroker, and we went to state or whatever. I don't know, maybe 10, 11. And my dad's like, hey, if you win state, I'll get you a cat. Like no chance he thought that I was ever gonna win. And like by a fingernail, I think I pulled it out and I got a cat. Her name was Fluffy. And so I don't think he ever gave me that offer anymore. No more living animals to win something. So yeah, that was pretty much my life growing up. And then I just really, oh, sorry. Um, and then I just went to, and then I just fell in love with soccer. I started when I was 4, and that was my passion. I literally lived and breathed it. Like that's all I ever wanted to do. And
And you,
so,
you guys had some great teams at Thunder Ridge, didn't you?
yeah, yeah. So my freshman year when I started there, I actually they didn't know like anything obviously about me. And so our team had just won state the year before. And so they really had like no room on that dang team. And so Kristen, my, Kim, she and I were the 2 freshmen on that team. And so we won state that year, which was amazing. It was so much fun. And then the our junior year, we won state. So our sophomore year, we should have won. And then our senior year, we had a lot of injuries. So we kind of lagged there. But yeah, that was like this. Yeah, high school was fun.
And then
The
you had to make a big decision after that on where you were going to go to college. How hard was that decision to make, and what kind of went into the process of making that decision?
so it was a lot of our club. We went to showcases, and I was fortunate enough. We have a regional team that I made, and then I was able to travel with them, which exposes you a lot. And so um, I remember just getting letters, and like I had no idea. You're so young, and you're like, what the heck do I do? And so I know my dad and my mom were like super supportive with me. They were just, they helped me to understand like, this is a huge decision, but it's up to you. Ultimately, like whatever you go to, you are going to thrive there, and you'll kind of just know. And so when I went on my visits, I went to Nebraska, I went to Vanderbilt, and then Tennessee. And Tennessee, I was like done. Like the stadium, the environment, just like like everything about it. I was like, I just like the people, everything. So it. I was gonna go to Pepperdine and take a visit there, and then I was like, no, I'm good. I know I want to go to Tennessee. So, yeah, that decision it was hard. I remember having like conversations with coaches, and I'm a kind of a people pleaser, so I didn't want to like let them down. And like those conversations, that was actually probably the hardest part, is telling some of those coaches like I chose, I'm going to Tennessee. So,
And
but
so when you did that, how much, I know when you were growing up, because I know your parents and how supportive they were. What were some of the things that you got from your parents growing up and that you still kind of use today? I know they were very supportive and everything else, but what were some of those things that really propelled you into what you were doing?
I would say my work ethic. My dad is real extreme. Like he it wouldn't matter how many goals I scored or if we won. He would be super upset with me if he knew that I wasn't giving it my best. Like it literally, I remember games that I'd score 3 goals and I'm like, what? Why are you mad? And he's like, you didn't try. And I'm like, but we won. And he's like, yeah, but you didn't try. And so I know that feeling from my son, my oldest. He plays all of the sports and he's kind of just he's 9. So my other ones are still kind of little, but he kind of has the same. He sometimes, I know that he can just do more, and so I just get super frustrated, and I'm like, now I know what he was talking about. I'm like, there's always that little thing that, like, he would literally just sit there and he'd shake his head, and I'd look over and I'm like, oh great, he's gonna be mad at me after this game. I better start working harder. And he would literally just scream like, work harder, Kristen, like all the time. Like all of my friends, that's all they knew him for. They still are like, hey, how's work harder? Like, like but it pushed me to want to be more and do more. And my mom was super supportive because she was like that comforter. When my dad was really upset with me, she would always just be there for me. And she was actually a pretty good athlete herself. She was she she was really good at hurdles and stuff, and so she went to nationals and stuff for that. So um but she doesn't have that like super, she's competitive but like in a different type of way. And so she was, I guess she's a woman, I don't know. And so she just was more like comforting to me. That gave me like the ability to know, like, at least I go home and I have somebody who still loves me. But at the end of the day, like, I know my dad was just doing his best to get me to become the best version of myself, which he did. So sometimes I thought it was a little crazy, a little over the top, but it worked. So
And it's really interesting now that too that you're kind of feeling the same things or see the same things, when your kids are playing sports and so forth. And as a parent, all we want to do is make sure our kids are improving, again, progressing on a daily basis, and giving everything they have to everything they do. And that's what your dad instilled in you, and you still use that today, and I think that's awesome. Let's go back into Tennessee. How hard was it to leave home? How hard was it to go that far away and go to a place that you didn't really know anybody, probably?
it was, I would say that first year was tough. I remember calling like preseason. Our preseasons were extreme. Our coach, she played with like Mia Hamm, Christine Lilly, all of those girls. So she won 4 national championships herself in college. She was extreme, and she expected everything, extreme as well with all of us. And so there was no like, oh, you're hurt, sorry. It was like, get back up and play. Like, and that's fine. That's what my dad was like. And so I understood that. But her mentality was just, it was like, you're not, like, everything was mindset with her, actually, which now doing what I do now, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this makes so much sense. But it's like, you tell me whatever you think in your mind is what it is. So she's like, you're not sick. I'm never sick because my mind tells me I'm not sick. You know what I mean? And you're like, I really, like, I can't breathe. But it was tough because obviously you're going to a new school. You're going to a place that you don't know anybody. I was 17. My parents still had to sign my papers when I went there. And, it's a different environment. The South is different. Like, the people there are different. The energy is different. the expectation. The girls, like the weights that we had to lift, I'm like, I was like a little, I didn't have a lot of muscle. And when I went to that first year, I'm like, gosh, I think I gained seriously like 30 pounds of like muscle. Like we just lifted all of the time. But there's like we had such a strict regimen. Like we woke up at 5:30, we had weights, we had to go eat breakfast, we had classes, we had to be done with our classes by 12 so that we could go and have our lunch and then go to practice. And then we'd have practice, we'd have film, whatever. We'd have study hall. So we had to go to 10 hours of study hall a week. And that was even if we were traveling. So if we were traveling, we left on Thursdays, we had to get 10 hours in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It was like and at first I was like, whoa, like this is a lot, but I would never change it for the world now. Like I have learned so many lessons from just not even soccer, but just everything else that went. And so I'm glad my parents were super supportive too.
And don't you think that that's where a lot of kids going into college really don't really understand what they're getting into, because it's more, I don't want to say it's a job, but it's pretty regimented in how they do things, and it's life changing. And don't you think that more kids need to understand that going into college sports?
Well, absolutely, especially if they're paying for your sport. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like you owe it to them to be the best that you can be. And that means that you're gonna have to do things that you don't want to do. Like I don't want to wake up at 5:30. I don't want to I have to go to bed and not be able to go out with my friends. But yes, like I think that it's important for and that's why I think a lot of kids like trickle out the first year. Like they're like, I can't do this. This is a lot. And if you don't have that, like if you don't have that drive, or your parents didn't prepare you, or I just don't think that I don't think that a lot of kids understand it, and they don't want to do that. They went to college to have fun. Like it is a job. Like it technically is like a job. I mean, you're not getting paid, but you're not having to pay. So
right.
you owe it to them to do everything possible so to just look good for their school. And so um yeah, I think that it should be definitely, my kids will understand what it takes to get, they want to go play professional sports, you know, that's just who they are. And they know, like I tell them every single day, like, this is what you have to do. Like, you don't get to just like wake up and do this and do that and la, la, la. Like it's, it's a routine, and you get into it, and you'll fall in love with it eventually.
And how do you think that's translated now into your life?
Oh man. So with 4 kids, it's a lot. I mean, we are constantly on the go. And so knowing that like I need to wake up, I have to like prepare all of these things. It's like you just do it because that's just what you do. And you want your kids to be able to see, it just being a natural thing, not like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. It's like, no, like we get to enjoy it. We get to be better today. Like everything today leads us to tomorrow that can lead you in 2 years, and so I feel like, especially with having introducing Arbonne in my life, like I've had to really like become super strict with my time. Like I don't have just an hours on all day to just go do what I want, especially with my little girl. She's like a whole new thing. Like what happened? Like these boys are easy compared to her. And so I know that like I only have certain times. Like there's a book called The Miracle Morning, and like it's a really good book to just dive into, to realize like this is what I need to do first thing in the morning before my kids even get out of bed, so that I can be prepared for the day. So
And let's go into your business now. You mentioned your business. Why don't you mention it again and kind of tell us what you're doing with that business and how that fits in with your daily routine with 4 kids and so forth? Because I'm sure there's a lot of mothers out there that are kind of in the same situations, who are kind of spinning the wheels sometimes and frustrated sometimes. So how do you get through those times with your business and what you're doing?
so I do Arbonne. It is a health and wellness company, and it's a network marketing company. I had so many hesitations. Obviously, time. Like, where am I going to find my time? What am I going to do? Um, you know, with the nights that I have to go do certain things, because we fit this in addition to a lot of people's other jobs. And so thankfully I stay home. I was able to be at home with my kiddos, but I also wanted to still be present with them, because when you add another thing in your life, like you're creating less time. And so, but the best part about Arbonne is that, yes, it's like we have all of the things and they're amazing, and our ingredient policy is like top notch. But I love every aspect of Arbonne because it's a community again. Like I feel like I'm part of a team. Like all of these women are just like, they have a drive, and they want to be better for themselves and for their kiddos. And we do a lot of self-growth, a lot of like personal reading, like a lot of reading. I never read before. I don't really love reading. I love reading now. So that has like been a huge thing for me to be able to implement in my kiddos' lives. Like a lot of mentality books, and 80% of who we are is our mindset, and 20% is skill. And so my oldest super he's a perfectionist, and so a lot of the times he doesn't want to try. He doesn't want to do things because he doesn't want to fail. That will get you nowhere in life. And so I have literally been reading a lot of these books, and I've been able to implement that type of strategies, because I don't remember having such mental like, just when I was younger, I just did things because I didn't have that like fear of failing. I just did it anyways. And so I don't know that I'd be able to relate as well with him. But now reading these things, I'm like, gosh, like that is hard. That's tough for people that don't want to, that are afraid to just, fail. They'd rather quit. And I'm like, that doesn't work in my life. Like we can't do that. So that's been seriously such a blessing, because I was reading a book one time and I was like, he was struggling hitting. And I'm like, what do you tell yourself when you go to hit? And he's like, nothing. And I'm like, you don't say anything to yourself. Like you just sit there and you're like, I hope I get a hit. I don't know. Maybe I won't, whatever. And I'm like, we got to focus on something. And so I was like, why don't you tell yourself, or what do you think you should say? And he was like, I think I should say like, I hit it and I can do it. Or what did he say? I can do it. I don't know. Something like I can do it and I do it. And so that next game, he literally went 3 for 3. And I'm like, not like he felt like I was like a magical unicorn, but I'm like, and it doesn't always work like that, but it was such a simple example. I'm like, you need to tell yourself what you think and who you are and what you believe. And we do a lot of affirmations, and my kiddos on the way to school, they're like, hey, can I do my like, I'm ready. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, I am strong. I am brave. I am confident. Like, and what we tell ourselves, like, that is who we are.
Yeah.
And I have just like over the past year and a half, just like become super engulfed with all of that goodness, because I mean, what else do we have besides our mindset? And especially with COVID, like it's been tough. It's been real hard with a lot of people, and just the mindset that we get in, especially not being able to get out and about, and we're social creatures, and when we don't have that opportunity around people, like we kind of just get stuck in our own minds. And so escaping through reading books and growing our minds is just huge. And so
well, and that's so huge. I mean, the name of this podcast is People Progressing, and you just blew it out of the park. That's exactly what I'm trying to help people do. It's so awesome. And when you're talking about those little statements, I've heard that we as human beings have like between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. And like 80 to 90% of those are negative. So having those key statements that you can beat off those negative statements with is a huge thing. And what you're teaching your kids to do that at such an early age, it's so huge, because most of those negative statements that we're feeling or thinking aren't real. They're not true. They don't mean anything, but they keep pounding us and pounding us and pounding us from outside sources and so forth. So what you're telling your kids and teaching your kids that's to say those statements and think those ways is teaching them the right way. That's so powerful, really powerful. Let's go back. Let's talk about the adversity that's happened in your life. You have a brother, Ricky, who's a great athlete, a great kid. I loved him to death. And tragically, he passed. Why don't you take us through that and how you got through that and so forth? I'll still remember seeing your mom and dad at church, and just, I didn't even know what to say. I felt so bad. And how did you guys manage that, and what happened?
so he was 20, how old was he? 25. I was 23. He actually had gone out to Texas for the weekend, and my mom got a phone call that, the they were going to get her, like they were going to her office, and I'm like, oh geez, this isn't good. My dad's like, have you talked to your brother? And I'm like, no. And so that like that phone call literally like crushed my world. I feel like my brother and I were getting to that point where we could be like really good friends. And, you know, because when you're growing up, you're always super competitive and just tough on each other. And I didn't always feel like I was the best sister. He was always an amazing brother, honestly. Like he had just like this gift of love. Like he just always wanted to just be like the biggest supporter, and anything that I ever needed, he was there. And I felt like I just wish that I could have been more for him, but that's besides the point. And he had a athletic heart. And so I guess that's when you're the like, I don't know, he eventually, his heart just stopped working. And so we had to wait for him to come back, which was like the longest process ever. And, you know, it was tough. It was hard. My parents, to this day, I don't think my parents are the same people they were. I don't think you'll ever be. Losing a child is, you know, not something that you should ever have to do. And so and having my own kids now, I'm like, I can't even fathom that. Like, yes, he was my brother, but like my parents, like they are the strongest people that I know. Like, I don't know how they were able to go on, and I don't know how they grew their relation. Like my dad's faith grew a lot. Like that is something that I think that you have adversity like that. Like you grow closer. You either fall off or you grow closer to God. And I think that he realized that that's what he needed to do, and so that's what he did. And my parents are closer than ever, and they are just so supportive. And you know, I think that they live a lot through my kiddos now. And Davin, my second little boy, he's a lot like my brother. He looks like my brother, he acts like my brother, and so he's like reincarnated, I swear. And it's just so fun for them. Like my dad just has that natural like drawn to him just because he's so much like him. And so but the adversity with that, I think that a lot of us just like, grief is interesting. Like there's no right or wrong way to do it. And I think for myself, I kind of like buried it. And I got married, and then I had a lot of kids. And so I didn't really ever process it. And honestly, I was just talking about this yesterday, like through Arbonne is when I discovered that like I was kind of just a negative person. Like it wasn't like I was like a horrible human. I just didn't have any zest for life anymore. Like I just feel like I would just wake up and like la la la, go through the motions. And when I started with Arbonne again, I'm like, all right, like this is what life is. Like we need to wake up and we have to be thankful for every single day, because that's what he would want us to be. And so I do a lot of the things, like we talk about my brother all of the time. Like my kiddos know who he is, who he was, like who he would be now. I think that's really hard too, is that just like imagining the life that we could have had, imagining like how amazing of a uncle he would be, and a dad and a husband, you know, like such great qualities. And I think that yes, time heals, but it also makes it harder because you just have such unknowns. And so but my parents, I mean, they do it, and they were strong. They've always been strong, and they, you know, they have their days that you can tell that it's tougher, but you know, you just put one foot in front of the other, and I think that that's all you can do. And
the faith is huge. You know, we lost a girl too. Our two oldest are surviving triplets. We lost a little girl in that process, and my faith of knowing that I'm going to be with her someday is what keeps me going. And the other thing about Ricky is his legacy is always here. It will never go away. And you said it about what kind of a brother he was, and how supportive he was, and how loving he was, and he was a great young man. And that legacy is now living through your kids and so forth because of what he gave you. And that's the greatest thing you can ever do. And that legacy, no one can ever take that away, and no one can ever take away what he gave all of us in terms of what you said he was, in terms of being a loving brother, and somebody who was supportive and all that. And that's the great thing about great people. and the great people leave legacies, and that's what he's done and continues to do to this day. You talk about it with your kids and so forth, and your kids knowing that and so forth is so powerful for them too. So I think that's a beautiful way of describing it and how you described it and how you guys have gotten through it. So what's a typical day for you now with 4 kids and running a business and having a husband and all those kind of things? Because I've known you for a long, long time, and you've always been really laser focused on things and really kind of serious about things and everything else. And I see you doing your advertisements on social media and so forth. And what's a typical day like? I mean, uh, from getting up to going to bed, how busy and crazy is it for you?
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah.
um I wake up, I try to wake up early, but I've been staying up really late because it's either early morning or really late because
Hmm.
I have to fit in my Arbonne time somewhere.
Right.
So and like that's a non-negotiable. Like every day I do Arbonne. Like that's how you grow your business. You have to
Right.
give it is a side thing, but it's also you have, if you want more out of it, you're gonna have to put more into it, obviously, with anything in life. And so when I wake up, I have a 9 and a 7-year-old Devin, and they go to where we live in Castle Rock, so they go to school in Castle Rock. Thankfully, my husband works from home now from COVID
Okay.
and all of that, so he can take them to school. They literally can walk to school. And then I take my 5-year-old David or Hudson, and then Tenny, my little girl. She actually just started 2 days preschool, so she goes on Tuesday, Thursday. But then Hudson goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we go to Highlands Ranch. And so I take him to a little preschool in Highlands Ranch. St. Luke's, it's like amazing. I
Hmm.
love it. And all of my kiddos have gone there. And so I just, like, creature of habit, I just take them
Yeah.
all there, even though it's out of the way. And we take them or we do, sorry, this guy was, I thought he was talking to me. So I take him, and then at 9. So they all start at 9. And then Tanny and I just hang out in the mornings. We typically will go either like have a play date, or with COVID, we would, just survive the mornings, because she's literally like a circuit. Like, she's a one-person circus. She does anything and everything and climbs on, like, all of the things. And then I'll do some Arbonne stuff here and there in the morning sometimes, like if I go like a coffee date or something. But and then I go pick up Hudson at 1, and then in the afternoon we do certain, like, color, do that stuff. We actually just got a batting cage in our basement. So,
I
and
saw
a
that.
pitching machine. And so that's all. My 5-year-old is like obsessed with baseball, and so he that's all he wants to do. He's like, can we go hit, can we go hit? So we go down there a lot now, which is awesome. I mean, what else do you do?
Yeah.
And so especially if it's cold out, I'm like, I hate being cold. I don't know why, but like lately I've just hating cold. And so we just go down there. And then the boys get home at 4. Typically they have sports, so like literally they walk in the door, grab a snack, and then we're off to some sort of sport. And both they both are playing. So we're split up. My husband and I split, and he takes them one place, I go the other place. We have dinner, like crock pot stuff a lot, or try to pre-shred chicken, whatever. And then get home, brush our teeth, and go to bed. And then my husband and I will hang out for a little bit, and then I'll do some more Arbonne. So, or there's a lot of nights I have calls and stuff too. So my parents are super helpful as well, because I don't know how to do without them.
And
So
you found some time to do, you mentioned your reading too on there to progress yourself a little bit. When do you find time, at early in the morning, late at night? I mean, is that kind of hard to fit that in too?
yeah, it is hard, but I also, like, that's non-negotiable. So I read every night, probably at like 11, 12.
So it's
I
a
don't go to
not
bed though until like 1.
right. And it's a non-negotiable that you're progressing yourself on a daily basis, that you're growing and learning on a daily basis. That's a
Yep.
non-negotiable. And it's a
Right.
non-negotiable. You've already said that it's a non-negotiable with your kids, right?
Yep.
Because that's what they're doing on a daily basis as well. And I commend you on all that. It's amazing to watch your journey. From a superstar soccer player to superstar mom to superstar wife, superstar business person, and superstar daughter. And I know your parents, and they're just beautiful people and awesome people. And I know how proud they are of you and what you're doing and so forth. So I just want to thank you for coming on. I know you're busy. You just kind of described that and stuff. But if you had one thing, I'll ask you three more questions. What's your purpose in life?
Oh man, my purpose is to make every single person I come in contact with, make their life more beautiful somehow, some way, make them better. Not better, but just make them happier
That's so
or
awesome.
more beautiful. Yeah.
And what's your perspective on life? I know with what happened, the tragic events with Ricky and so forth, probably give you a different perspective on life now.
I literally like living each day to its fullest. Like it could be your last. Like honestly, you just never know. And so I don't ever want to take a day for granted. I want my kids to know that they're extremely loved and that they can do anything that they set their mind to. And um, you know, we only get today, so
Yeah.
enjoy it.
And last one, what's your passion?
All my passion is just serving other people, making them obviously better. And I keep saying it, making them better. They're already beautiful people, but enhance it and
Make their day better.
make their day better.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this is all about. And that's you're winning at all three of those. You're winning all three of those. And I always say when your purpose is greater than yourself, then you have a better peace of mind. And everything you just mentioned with your purpose, perspective, and passion all dealt with helping others and serving others. And that's why you're happy. That's why when I see you on social media and stuff, you got these big smiles on your face, and it's just awesome to watch what you're doing and how you're making the world a better place to be. And I appreciate that. I really do, because I think it's kind of it's kind of a weird world to live in right now, and your kids are coming up in that world, and you're making it better for them as well. So thank you so much, Kristen, for coming on. This has been great reconnecting with you and so forth. And um, I hope you have a great day today and every day like you always do, and keep making everyone else's day better, because you do.
Thank you so much. It's
You
been amazing.
have a great day.
You too.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk to you.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for listening to the People Progressing podcast. Once again, you can get on my website, coachjoewhiteconsulting.com, and get a copy of my book. Have me come speak to your groups, or work with your businesses or teams or anything like that. I would love to do that. Again, you can get a hold of me through my website, Coach White or coachjoewhiteconsulting.com. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.